Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to tonight's race between Xenocat and harumph, Game 3 of their series. I am Baka Shinobi, and I am joined by Nth. How are you doing this evening, Nth?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be over here on the not so often used Randomania 5, ready for this wonderful race. Got a very busy day going on in all the randomizer communities, it seems, and I'm glad we can add to it with two more wonderful races this evening over here in this Highway to the Zemus Zone, final day of the round of 64.
Agreed. You know, if it's a Game 3, we've had some fun matches already, so let's get ready to see what we're getting here. And oh, I see objectives 4 and 5 have decided to randomly roll something interesting.
Who doesn't like hard required Baron key in this particular setup here? So that really is very, very interesting to me because it's rare that you see an objective setup outside of like a boss hunt plus quest, and the boss happens to be in the quest where you have a place that's hard required to begin with. And it's even rarer because it's usually like a boss hunt or a character hunt that's causing that you know that it's hard required like that beforehand.
Yeah, this is going in the foreknowledge that Baron Key is your hard to go mode might go and shape some decisions because one, Baron Key is a chain item, so it could go and just be blocking a long chain that could gate a lot of key items. It could block Wyvern, it could block Darkness, it could block part of Forge. That Baron Key is looking very critical, and I imagine both runners will be nervous until they find it.
And even then, depending on when you find it, it's very much a moment of when do you go and check it as well. Because it is only that one key item check, because the K-Summon flag is off in this tournament, meaning that there is no key item for defeating that Baron Castle basement throne. So the question becomes, if you have the Baron key and you still need like one more key item for go mode, when do you dip into Baron at that point in time, knowing it could be actually gating you there?
Yeah, I'm Baron Castle that gives the key item is easy enough, quotation marks. It's an overworld check, so it's not going to go and completely stomp you like certain other spots will. The Baron Throne, however, is one of those places that maybe you just leave on your come back to later list.
Absolutely. The only real downside of that Liberate Baron Castle objective is it is a very long check. You got the cutscene where you got to walk with whoever gave you the key item at the start in that Beigen spot. You got to wait for the king to transform. You got to walk the 3 miles to the Baron trash can to figure out what exactly you're getting out of it. And so there is always going to be that time sink factor more than the difficulty factor to that too.
I think the time sink factor got slightly mitigated with this Fusoya hero.
I don't know what sort of luck I have, but this is like the third or fourth seed in bracket stages now that I've been on comms with a Fusoya start. So the thing I always bring up with the Fu start, and I'm glad I have enough of these under my belt at this point that I can say always bring up. But the big question whenever I see a Fu start in these flags is the question of where do you start? Do you take early bosses like Mist Cave, Waterfall Cave to get them powered up? When do you actually hit the gas here? As we seem to have the Grandpa special.
Yeah, usually like they have someone else go and just carry food through one of those first bosses because we have the Fusoya challenge on, which means that he's not going to start with all of his spells. We're going to have to earn them back 3 at a time for each boss we kill. And while we can go and kill the Mist Cave boss pretty easily, the Lunar Staff is a bit lacking compared to just most any melee fighter. So we do have a hook. I wonder if our runners are going to just be blitzing that as soon as possible.
I think I'd be tempted to with a Tella and Fusoya start, because I kind of feel like if you have a Fu start, Tella is not necessarily a bad character, but he loses a vast majority of his value in comparison to Fu. So I'd be tempted to try and figure out how I can, get more character checks and possibly figure out what my later party is going to be and whether or not I'm going to get stuck with that Tella later.
Yeah, well, the See Maybe flag is going to go and make it pretty easy to not find a character to kick out that Tella, and Tella is generally a good character, but when he's in a party with Fusoya, who you can't pick up anywhere else on these flags, you can only start with him, his utility starts to pale a fair bit.
Yeah, one good thing over on Xenocat's side that we just saw, he went and checked that Waterfall Cave boss, then it is K-Not-So, meaning that's one of those scary Cave Bahamut, Baron Castle basement throne bosses out of the way already. So we know that that's going to not be in the pool later, and that's really valuable knowledge to have.
Yeah, the waterfall location, it's not so scary. Xenocat also going straight to Evelyn.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how far they're going to go here in this case. Like, yep, Xenocat is actually going to go into Evelyn Castle. I was about to say, are they going to just go and check the character? Or are either of our runners going to just go in, check that actual hook route, character check, and go? It looks like harumph is more set up to do that.
Harumph seems more inclined. Harumph did go and loot all of Damsing Castle, so maybe Harumph is feeling okay looting that, not looting Evelyn Castle, but will go and loot the cave. And did find a Leviathan summon as well in one of the early 2 chests.
Yeah, that's one of the best early things to find if we happen to have Iridia sitting around, but there's no guarantee we have Iridia sitting around, so it's sort of that Schrodinger's thing. And hey, if you want a Leviathan, you got 2 more for sale if you want them.
Well, that's, well, both our owners are going to find that Leviathan. It's money in the box at the moment. But we will see what we can go and get for the character here. Edge would be helpful because Edge is a melee fighter who starts at a rather high level and be able to go and take care of quite a bit, and will be quite fast. Kane wouldn't be bad for that Gungnir Spear we just found. All sorts of nice things in this shop too. Cat Claws, Black Swords, even for Dark Knight Cecil.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options for what you could find on this route. I'm trying to think of what a bad option would be, and the only answer is really a dupe or an Edward at this point in time. So it'll be interesting, and that might also shape quite a bit what they're thinking going forward. And hey, there's that Rydia.
And there's that Golbez, which means the Magma Key is hidden Overworld. Golbez is one of the 3 bosses who cannot block the way underground. The other 2, Valvalis and Wyvern.
Absolutely, and that's really interesting too, because it does mean that that hook route has been debunked, so to speak. And it leads to an interesting question, because I feel like when you have any underground access to start with, your temptation is to fade Fabul as long as you can. And I wonder if either of our runners are going to try and do that and risk that Magma Key being there early on.
Yeah, though I think with Fusoya in your party, it's not as painful on the basis of every boss you kill gives more spells for Fusoya, which is probably going to accelerate you more and more. So skipping one boss, who takes a fair bit longer than going through the other set of bosses, doesn't feel so bad, I feel.
Definitely, and I agree there. I think in this case, I personally would go and just still check Fabul, especially with that K-summon flag off, knowing that you lose 1 key item out of that pan check. It also hurts a bit less as well, and you're really only waiting on that pan for 1 more. I think in this case, it probably is a lot better of an idea just to head to Fabul, but it is a very valid strategy to not do it.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're going to go and get a big advantage out of is these Mist Cave bosses that we're going to try and fight. They're going to go and be a bit better because you want to get any experience you can on Rydia early. You want to get her up to 50 MP, be able to cast that Leviathan. And she's going to gain levels pretty quickly. She starts at level 1. It takes about 1,000 experience to get her up to level 10 or something.
Yeah, I don't know when she hits 50 MP. Is that at 10 or is it a bit further than that?
I think it'll be around level 15 at most, maybe with 12. It's not going to take a lot, but maybe this boss here and the Antlion Cave boss are going to go and be enough.
Yeah, and it looks over on Xenocat's side. He's actually going to check the summon at the front of Mount Hobbs, and I don't recognize that one. Is that Titan?
Yep, that is Titan. I wonder if Xenocat was looking for Sylph, because Titan, while nice, is 40 MP to Leviathan's 50, but Leviathan is going to sweep through pretty much everything Overworld. Sylph is only 25 MP, so you can start getting ready at casting spells much sooner.
Absolutely. There's plenty of good options there. We're also seeing Harumph doing a thing that I have not yet seen on these flags, which is actually going back and checking these Mist Cave spots, which I don't usually see people loot, but hey, gets a Silk Web for it, so that's paid off already.
Yes, Mist Cave has a higher loot because we are on T-Pro, and T-Pro means that different locations will have different weights of loot, and out of the way locations will have higher tier loots. Mist Cave is usually skipped because, well, we don't kill the boss of Mist Cave. But in this case, we already have killed the boss of Mist Cave, and if you're there, higher tier loot seems worth going and opening up a bit.
Yeah, and also importantly, he did get the tier 2 spells onto Fu for that as well. And hey, there's a Cecil on Mount Hobbs behind a Dark Elf. Let's see how much those tier 2 spells speed up this fight on Harumph's side.
Yeah, we see Dark Knight Cecil hitting for an unfortunately small amount of damage, and Dark Elf going and casting some spells, gonna start hurting. Fire 2 already out for 948, forcing the second change, or the shift into the second form. So we're gonna see a pretty speedy fight on this side, I think.
Yeah, and it just goes to show how much those early bosses can sort of change that little things along terms of the route if you're playing with a Fu start, because this is going to pay off the time that Harumph spent on that Mist Cave boss already.
Yep. As we see, Harumph is already through while Xenocat is still trying to go and catch up on damage, just finishing the fight now. But Harumph has already gone and done the Mist Cave check. Though Xenocat will be able to pick up time on the Mist Cave check. Mist Cave actually has surprisingly high magic defense, so is a little bit slower to kill with magic.
Yeah, it was also quite lucky that it was a boss that doesn't really do anything too, because anything that could just punch that Rydia, knock her over, was kind of a scary proposition there, because you really want to get those early levels. But we've got the rest of the full suite of tier 2 elemental spells on, well, Harumph's side. Xenocat has his couple. I think both of them should be about the same speed here, and they're just going to keep going in lockstep through this Antlion Cave now.
Yeah, Tella's going to be valuable just because exit everywhere is pretty helpful in a number of these overworld locations.
Yeah, definitely. The sort of fade antlion style of things usually is because you don't have exit, so anyone who would normally fade antlion is a lot more tempted. And hey, there's our first objective 9 minutes in.
Well, if this is the Baron key, we are in for some very interesting routing.
Baron Key and or Darkness Crystal both at this point, but it looks like we are going to see here. That's a Berserk, and that's a Tower Key.
But let's make that lower Babel check more palatable, get the extra key item to go and make sure you only have to do it there once. But not something we can go and make you take for immediate value.
Absolutely. Did Harumph pick up that black sword that Xenocat just picked up here in Antlion Cave? Because I believe Harumph just basically ran straight down.
Harumph just beelined that cave and said, yeah, okay, we're going in just skipping every box except for one and getting out of here. Well, Xenocat, yeah, they got a black sword for it. And a heroin robe.
Oh, this is a bad time to have skipped Antlion Cave looting for once in this case. Antlion usually doesn't have particularly amazing loot. It can have good things, and those are probably a couple of the best things that you're likely to see here.
Rydia is going to be getting as much magic power as possible because Leviathan's online only for one fight, or only one cast even at that. But you might not need more than one cast with going into this Baron End fight.
It does depend a bit on the boss there, and hey, there's a Dark Knight Cecil for yet another Grandpa Baron, the wonderful retirement community today, holding a Fu and 2 Tellas so far.
Dark Knight Cecil, however, going and taking a good shot at the party before Fu can go and give him the proper roasting Dark Knight Cecil deserves.
Yes, one of those rare occasions where it's faster to just knock over Dark Knight Cecil instead of waiting for him to go through his script.
Well, this is a Baron End to be impressed by. You start with GKC trying to go and knock you down, and then you go and get King Queen Evelyn, who will try to knock you down and not really succeed much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free check, and we'll end up seeing what the key item is for it, but we do know that they won't get a character reward from it because this is the no dupes flag, and That means you can't have Tella number 2, unfortunately, as much as we might want to have a party of 4 Tellas and a Fu on these particular flags. That sounds like a great time.
I mean, it would be wonderful just to go and complete Team Old Man.
I mean, Paladin Cecil has white hair. He counts.
Team Old Man plus Lunarians.
Exactly. Well, that is our underground access and the magma key. I'm wondering at this point in time if Harumph is going to be tempted to go down and check those free underground checks as opposed to Xenocat, who is continuing to go up ordeals, and if he finds something here, might gain a bit of an advantage out of it. Flip side, if Harumph finds something down there, he'll gain an advantage out of it. So this is a very important bit of divergence here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Harumph went underground, because if you go and walk through the Sylph Cave, you're going to go and heal up when you do the Fabula fight anyways. The only advantage would be trying to get that pan earlier, which maybe you get greedy for and try and go and complete all of the Overworld. Speaking of completing the Overworld, Heroine Robe, great for a lot of things, not for casting Leviathan. So we're taking that off for a moment, as CPU's in the first lot, and we'd really like to go and kill that CPU faster.
Absolutely, and it's very unfortunate that you got CPU in the first spot there, just because of that little bit of extra time there, but it shouldn't really end up causing too many problems anyways. We are going to see this underground check here from Harumph, so gotta assume he'll probably head straight to the Fey March, and we'll end up seeing what that first box is here shortly.
Yeah, and we still need to keep an eye out for Demus, so maybe Harumph will go and check the King and Queen of the Summoned Monsters, see if there's a Demus there waiting to go and be maybe never slain, because those spots are real fast. No, Harumph appears to be stopping in front of Lower Babel.
This is an interesting gamble. I almost wonder if he's going to do the whole tower, or if he's just going to go up and do the tower key and then come back later. I actually kind of like this, because tower key is so easy to get through. And while it will sort of waste the time he's spending climbing up here and down, it'll be an easy extra boss. It'll be an easy another key item check. So this is actually a really exciting play here on Harumph's side.
I agree. This is definitely something I'm interested by. This is several thousand experience, which maybe goes and brings Rydia up to a higher MP pool that Harumph is looking for.
Absolutely, and over on Xenocat's side, had an unfortunate situation. Both orbs went down, and we got through the globes there. Unfortunately, knocked out that Rydia, meaning that she was unable to just cast another Leviathan and knock out the CPU at that point. So, oh, hey, there's an Ogopogo. That's another good boss to have out of the pool here.
Yeah, it's real nice not to go and have to deal with Ogopogo. He is very rude. Starts with the big wave to take off half HP, switches into punching, switches into... Well, he punched down the child, which is highly unfortunate. And if he casts any magic on Ogopogo, he'll counter with Blaze, which is ice elemental damage, where 25% of your max HP is damaged.
Yep, and Xenocat is through that CPU fight. I imagine that Harumph will be through shortly, although this wave might knock Rydia down again. So this is not going quite as easily as he might have hoped. At some point in time, he might have to just consider leaving Rydia on the ground, or maybe just finding another way around this at this point.
Yeah, this Ogopogo is doing a bit more damage than expected, it seems. And is laser targeting Rydia. Just going straight forward. Meanwhile, Xenocat through CPU is finding Octomam in the second spot. That's not the worst, and Harumph unfortunately takes a reset.
Interesting. That means he does not want to go through that fight without getting that XP on Rydia at all. Even if he could just knock it over with that Fu, he's just going to end up coming back later at this point.
Not unreasonable, because Rydia is probably the biggest benefiter of the experience from that slot, as that will go and really improve her Leviathan casting power. Meanwhile, we'll see Octomam on Xenocat's side going down, crumbling to dust, already through the fight, as we were talking about Harumph.
Yep, unfortunately not. We haven't hit any of the real big ticket spells, I feel, on Fu. I feel like the three you're really looking for more than anything else are like Virus, Quake, and Nuke. We still haven't hit any of those yet. We've only hit tier 2 elementals for the most part.
The tier 2 elementals are good when Fu is hitting for 1,000 damage, but you are looking for the big tickets, as you said. Getting a pink tail from that summon monster chest is pretty nice. That is something that we're happy to go and see, as it could be a crystal sword, could be a white shirt, could be a lot of things that would be of good use for this team.
Yeah, and an Earth Crystal over on Xenocat's side is also interesting because it means he'll have a lot more choices in terms of how he's building his party if he decides to follow that up at this point, which I feel like seems like a pretty likely good idea at this point because those treasuries have been spicy. And hey, there's your D-Mist.
D-Mist has been found. There are no more bosses on the seed, so we don't have to go down and fight whatever's at King Queen Evelyn. We're probably never going to see it, so I'm sorry to disappoint you. However, D-Mist at Leviathan is awful. It is a very high power, fast, punchy spot that is going to go and just absolutely decimate this team. And I don't think anyone really wants to fight that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, in my mind, who are worse options to where are worse options to find that D-Mist, and I do not think that I can think of many options worse to find that D-Mist. Maybe 2 or 3, like Ogopogo might punch pretty hard, Bahamut Spot punches pretty hard as well, but Leviathan is definitely way up there on the list of places I do not want to see that.
CPU gets my vote. That punches real hard and is very out of the way.
Yeah, unfortunately for everyone playing along at home, Required Giant is also off the table at this point, but at least you get the consolation prize that they might have to suffer through D-Mist at Leviathan at some point in time if you're looking for things that our runners won't like that you might enjoy watching.
D-Mist at Leviathan for Darkness is more likely than you think.
I mean, I guess the only positive is that if we go a very long way around this, there is a chance that, like, that Darkness Crystal isn't even required. Like, you only need Baron Key and Forge and a pass, and you can skip it. So there is a chance there's a world where that D-Mist is not hard required.
I agree there is a world. It's just going to be a rather unpleasant one because we have 2 rather important grinds locked behind the Giant, one of which is the D-Machine grind, and the other is the Giant, the Mac Giant grind.
Yeah, absolutely, and you definitely want to be doing probably D-Machines with this party where you have both a Tella and a Fu who will have weak at this point in time. You might try and dump off that Tella before you get there, so it's a great time to want that. Oh, the warp out of Mist Cave. I looked directly into it. Never do that.
I'm impressed that works. A lot of times you go and get kicked out for trying to go and warp out of a location that you can exit out of. And it does seem to be a bit faster than exit, where you don't have to spin around when you cast warp. You just kind of fade to black, fade back in, and you're out.
Absolutely, and now that we've had our Men in Black Mind Eraser fire off over on Xenocat's side, we can go back to commenting this FF4 race, I think it was.
It's fun. Just roll with it. Just make it up as we go. Eventually we'll figure out what's going on.
Always do.
Well, Harumph is doing a half tower play. It's not going all the way up tower. And we're going to see what key item Harumph gets from this tower key.
I'm kind of interested in this because he didn't really do anything in between there and just sort of came back. And hey, that's a legend sword, so that was a very good move because that's half of objective number 3.
Yeah, that is a thing to go and get. That brings us closer to the no Darkness Crystal dream.
It does, but I kind of almost feel like that's out of everything that could be required for this seed. Maybe the pieces of Forge are the worst to hit there, or at least the least impactful. Because I gotta feel that Xenocat, once they get underground, will be doing tower at some point. So this is kind of only a temporary knowledge advantage and not really a routing advantage in any way, shape, or form.
That's fair, and if Adamant is on top of that tower or Baron Key's up there and Harumph fades it for a long time, that could be very bad for Harumph.
Absolutely. We'll see how that ends up paying out later, as it does look like Xenocat is heading over to give us a treasury check here.
I guess we're going to go and rate that treasury, it seems.
Rate that treasury!
Well, an Ogre Axe, Artemis Bow, and a Ribbon all seem pretty nice. Defense Sword for that Cecil will at least get him online for a while too, so not bad, but none of the real huge, giant, this will change your life items like Excalibur, Crystal Sword in there, even a Bahamut.
Yeah, but that Artemis Bow is pretty solid in its own, just because Fusoya starts at a static 20 agility and is never going to go unchained. No amount of levels is going to change that, but the equipment will. If you wanted to get one of your character, Fusoya up to an ideal breakpoint for Zeromus of 28 agility, you need a crystal ring and a ninja hat. However, that Artemis Bow giving plus 10 agility will go and take you to 30, which, while not ideal, is a way to go and take Zeromus from relative agility 1 to relative agility 2 without needing much more investment.
Yeah, so basically it's like the second best Fu agility kit, I would say, in that case.
I would agree, and in the meantime, you can go and take that heroine robe, give it to Rydia, give her an Artemis Bow, and just rocket up her agility. And she'll just go and be an absolute, complete little mini Amazon avatar of destruction.
Absolutely. And over on Harumph's side, he has gone through that Fabul check, and hey, there's our Baron key. That's objectives 4 and 5 already on the table.
Harumph is now one key item away from go mode. Either a pass and an adamant, or a darkness crystal.
Just a rat tail. Well, at least we can check the rat tail and the pink tail right away. At least it's, it may be an IOU for a different key item, but it's one we can cash in immediately. So it's sort of just a little speed bump more than the problem right now.
And if that pink tail cashes in for a crystal sword or an Avenger, that's very nice for Harumph.
Absolutely. I feel like there's so many different ways still on the table that we haven't seen yet that could lead to Harumph basically getting the big advantage from going underground early. But it does look like he's going to cash in this Baron key before he cashes in that rat tail, which I kind of agree with, considering he's got to do Baron no matter what.
Yeah, I definitely agree with do what you have to do before you can start doing things that you may want to do. That said, that pink tail, it having the potential for a crystal sword would go and make me a bit more inclined to try and push that to see if I can get anything out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a gamble. Is going to pick up some Ether 2s and Cure 2s here, so he'll be really well set, at least for item restoratives for the most part. I believe he's still sitting on that Dark Knight Cecil, isn't he?
I believe Harumph has not gone and done ordeals.
We gonna get Darkness Crystal out of Baron Castle and run up ordeals and do the full Paladin Cecil slingshot here?
That, I mean, get a crystal sword from that pink tail? Yeah, that would definitely be a great way to go and just completely roll over Zeromus. Sure, you might not go and have a full party, but yeah, Fusoya and a Cecil. Cecil is going to just absolutely stomp Zeromus into dust while Fusoya goes and throws up some healing magic to keep him alive. I can see that working pretty nicely.
You get to level 70 Paladin Cecil with a good enough weapon, and he is the party at that point in time.
Yeah, get Paladin Cecil up to level 70 and you don't need a party. You don't need support. Zeromus needs support. Zeromus needs to go and get Fusoya to switch sides to make it a fair fight.
Which really, that would be an interesting flag. Please, by all means, post this in the feed, but don't actually do that. But we are going to see this Mylon Z fight. We know this is Mylon Z because Xenocat just took down Mylon and friends up at the Maga Sister spot. So this should go down extremely quickly because we have Fire 2 on Fu, who probably will pretty much one-shot this spot.
If nothing else, Rydia can go and cast at least one Leviathan. Looks like 2 now, so that's going to go and further chunk this Mylon Z. 1888 or 1884 damage, nice here, not as good. I mean, it's going to go and do damage. It's going to go and just really hurt this Mylon Z. I might not need a second cast to finish off the fight.
Yeah, but we just got some very good information over on Xenocat's side. We now know that Dark Imps are sitting in that Golbez spot at Dwarf 2, meaning that that is a basically free check as long as they don't punch someone down really quickly. And there's an edge as well. That is a huge pickup.
Darkness Crystal going and being somewhere obnoxious got a lot scarier because Edge, if you can find a pass on Earth and the other half of Forge, you won't have access to one of the big grinds, but you will have access to stealing sirens and killing eggs, which is a fantastic grind to have.
Absolutely. I think that's probably the single best character we could have found at that point, just because we know we don't have that grind fully available to us yet. And Xenocat will be on this Asura fight. Meanwhile, Harumph over here killing Good King Antlion, joyous as he. Not going to last very long on either side, I gotta imagine at this point, although Asura getting that cure off, not great.
Yeah, though Cecil is doing good damage, just going to need to go and... we have Drain Spears to throw. That's going to go and do even more damage.
I wonder if they're going to get enough damage out here before... there's another 2,500 back up. This is going a bit slow because of all these cures going off right now.
Yeah.
And hey, here's another Cecil. We're up to 3 Cecils so far.
I can't get away from Cecil. Harumph also getting all the reminders on, have you done ordeals yet? No? Do you want to have another reminder to do ordeals?
I gotta think that that's going to be where Harumph will route from here, unless this ends up being like Darkness Crystal at this point. And even then, he might still end up doing it. He's got that rat tail to turn in. He's got that pink tail to turn in. He'll be in the neighborhood if he does those. You might as well just swing down to ordeals and route all of those in together at the same time.
Very fair. If this is... I mean, Darkness Crystal is the only thing that could pull Harumph away. And it's just a sand ruby, but it is a chance at another character for Harumph who does not have a full party.
Yep, and meanwhile, over on Xenocat's side, they are through that Asura fight, so we'll see what they end up getting at this point in time. If they get that Darkness Crystal, it's going to change things quite a bit. It's really hard to parse who is in the lead in this race, because Harumph has a lot done that Xenocat might follow through, but Xenocat has a much better party for dealing with it at some point in time.
Xenocat has extra melee damage in the form of the Defense Sword and an Edge. And that's Darkness Crystal, so we're in no mode. We know where everything is in order to go and get to Zeromus and finish the seed. And Harumph is about to go and get another objective down, because this is Water Hag. This is not that bad of a fight, assuming that it doesn't punch the right people or the wrong people.
Absolutely, it's one of those free in quotation marks fights. In this case, Anna showing up and saying "fight likely," which is probably good advice for getting through most fights in this game, except for this Dark Knight Cecil, and even then, in this particular seed, it's been great advice. So,
yeah, I think I've already got sniped. We have the last hit queued up. Fusoya taking the hit, but queued up, and is going to go and finish off this Water Hag fight. And now Harumph is at 3 of the required 4 objectives. We don't need to do all 5, we just need to do 4 of them to get the crystal. And then we'll be on the way to go mode. And it is a heroine robe, which could be good for Harumph as well.
Yeah, and if my hunch on where Harumph goes from here is correct, and he heads right up Mount Ordeals from here, then he's going to get shepherded down the same path that Xenocat has gone down. And so on Xeno's side, there's sort of this ticking clock that's just started at this point in time that they need to get through in order to get to that point.
Yeah, Xenocat needs to go, and I believe it was Fabul Defense that gave the Baron Key.
Yep, definitely. So, I gotta think that they'll be shepherded down that path as well, as long as they head back up right after this.
Yeah, Xenocat might be tempted to go and do Dwarf Castle beforehand, because Xenocat knows it is a free Dark Imps fight. But maybe Sheila, or maybe Dwarf 1 will go and be discouragement from doing that. And Harumph still has a rat tail and pink tail to turn in. Sees Yang in the bed and chooses not to take them.
Absolutely. I think the big question right now is, if you're Xenocat, what do you do? Do you try and do as many underground checks as possible, or do you just check freebies? Because if they fade that tower, they fade Dwarf Castle, which I feel is unlikely because they'll probably want a character knowing that there's a free boss there, then, you know, each one of those that they do, we know wastes time at this point. But if they just decide to go down and, hey, I'm going to prep Sheila 1, I'm going to check Feymarch, and I'm going to head back up and do Fabul and get those two out of the way, then they will be in essentially go mode the moment they do that. And that is an Avenger for that pink tail.
That is some pretty nice stuff to go and get. Avenger is a very nice weapon for Cecil. Just Avenger glitch Cecil, and he is very good to go.
The only problem is we don't really have a great Cecil weapon yet. Outside of, I guess we have the defense sword, which is, it's pretty solid, but it's not like the huge big ticket Cecil sword you're hoping for.
Agreed. It is not an Exhale, it's not a crystal sword. There might be some clearing of Evelyn Castle for that, but also there's an argument for defense sword's good enough. Let me just simply go and slingshot this Cecil. Oh, Harumph might have been skipping that Yang because Harumph did wait at the bed for a bit on the assumption that he can go and slingshot Yang later.
Absolutely, and if he'd have picked up that Yang at this point in time, Yang would have immediately added himself to the party and been stuck in there no matter what. And Yang is one of those characters that's a deceptively good slingshot target. And it's really, really difficult for me to think of physical attackers that benefit more from levels. I don't think there's any that really benefit more from just raw levels than Yang does.
Yeah, Cecil will go and gain like 1 strength a level for every level until 50 or 60 or something absurd. But even then, Cecil wants a good weapon to go and multiply that with. Yang just says, give me levels and I will do more damage, because he literally does. His base damage is 2 times his level, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and then I believe strength factors into his damage calculations higher as well. I could be misremembering on that, but I know that he benefits extremely well from raw strength. Xenocat now going to see that D-Mist immediately go and cast Exit. Cecil wants, or their Cecil has nothing to do with it. And yeah, that's a no.
Yep, that's I could go and try this fight, but I'm not, because this fight is awful. And is heading down Sylph Cave. And to expand on that point, you are correct. Yang and Edge both gain double benefit from every 4 strength. Because every 4 strength you get 1 attack power added to your weapon. Because Yang and Edge both use 2 weapons, that 1 strength is applied to each weapon.
Yeah, so in this case, we'll end up seeing what Harumph ends up doing once he gets through this. But he'll be shepherded down that Earth Crystal as well. So that might end up becoming irrelevant once he sees Edge sitting there. Or he might decide, hey, I'll take Edge and then I'll say goodbye to Tella. But it does look like Xenocat, they've decided they're going to just prep those freebies and head back up, which we know is pretty much the best choice they could be making right now.
Yeah, once Xenocat finishes the Fabul defense, Xenocat will be in go mode. But you go and get a rat tail, you probably want to go and check that. Sure, we know it turns into a ribbon, but Xenocat would probably be very interested in getting up to 10 key items if possible.
Yeah, I'm trying to count out where they'll be at this point in time. They'll be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They'll be 1 short. Maybe at that point you decide, hey, I'm also going to go up half a tower and take this one thing. Or maybe they decide, I'll go through Dwarf Castle to try and get another character to replace that Tella. Or maybe they'll just decide to take Yang at that point in time and say, you know what, I'm going to spend too much time trying to get this 10th key item. I might as well just go into a grind and not necessarily worry about doing too much of a grind, because I have 3 physical attackers instead of a bunch of mages, and I don't need as many levels as I might need otherwise.
Yeah, Harumph is going to go and be at 10 key items, if I'm not mistaken, because Harumph is currently at 8 with the all the items that he currently has. No, excuse me, Harumph is at 9. Darkness will be 10. And then Xenocat, after getting the Baron Key and the Rat Tail, will be at a similar count, be at that 9 once in full go mode after completing Baron. So that is a distinct and rather scary difference between the two runners.
I think that does lead to a question on Xenocat's side too. Do they go up to the moon and check what is at Cave Bahamut? Because if you can get through that Cave Bahamut fight without a grind, or even just take a couple behemoths beforehand and use that as a little sort of mini grind to boost you up there, you can get the crystal and then have 10 key items that way. So it might not even necessarily be a thing where you hunt for that. It might be a thing where you check who the Cave Bahamut boss is before you commit to anything and figure out if you can hit 10 key items through that.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because if we have seen a lot of free bosses, we've seen Baron Guards, we have seen Dark Imps, and the fact that we know where Dark Imps is, we saw King Queen Evelyn and Bahamut. The main free bosses left would be something like Officer Soldier Fight.
I think that's pretty much it, honestly. We know that Dark Imps are sitting in Dwarf Castle number 2. We know that,
We do have Karate.
That's true, but Karate is quite punchy, and at that Bahamut spot, that might still be one of those deceptively not free fights. But it does look like Harumph is, instead of chasing that Earth Crystal, going to head down and do Dwarf Castle instead.
I can't go and claim this is a bad idea, just because, yep, you have a fresh Cecil, and you know you can get a giant pile of experience on them to slingshot them a bit. I would see value in doing this as well.
It's one of those decisions where you have to really step back from what you know about the seed as a viewer and think about it in terms of what Harumph knows at this point in time. And from what Harumph knows, this is a pretty solid decision. Earth Crystal does take a good while to get through. You might as well head down here and try and clear more underground so that you don't have to come back down here again. There's better stuff in the shops if you want to go shopping. So this is a pretty solid choice. It's just that we know that this might not, unless it's the adamant, be the correct choice. Or I guess the pass too would also be worthwhile, because you might save enough time from getting a pass in order to make up the time spent on this Dwarf Castle check.
First check is a Lunar Sparkle. This could either be Pale Dim, D-Lunars, or Plague, and then we know one of those, the remaining 2, are in the Queen spot.
Yeah, this is a fascinating situation right now, because that ticking clock is shifted over to Harumph's side, because Xenocat knows they're in go mode, and they're heading down to this Baron check. Hey, at least there's Plague. At least that is an easy boss to deal with here, as long as you can chew through that HP in time.
Yep, we're going to go and get a good chunk of damage out between this Nuke and this Leviathan. I don't think we're going to need too much more, but might need a second cast. No, we're probably not going to need a second cast. Probably just going to go and... Oh, Cecil was going to try and knock himself down, but did not succeed. Oh, and Harumph only having 4 characters does not get a slingshot on Cecil. Oh, but Cecil is going down. Nope. Cecil is very uninterested in going down, excuse me. He's hit himself for a whopping 35 damage.
To answer a question in chat of does Xeno check Odin Throne first, very, very, very unlikely. It's possible that you save the time of walking back in, but that's the only real benefit in this case, because the K-Summon flag in these flag sets is off, meaning that we can't get a key item out of it. And so because of that, they're kind of disincentivized to go down there immediately, since they already have to do both.
Yes, and there's a lot of things down there that can kill you and probably will kill you. Xenocat is probably going to not be wanting to waste that time of a likely reset, even if it is Water Hag down there that we know.
Absolutely. I think, if there is a situation in which you want to go down there, it would probably be without Liberate Baron Castle and those objectives. In that case, this would be if they already had one other objective completed instead of this being there, or if they had that, it might be worthwhile. And harumph having a bit of a rough time with these dark imps because they hurt.
Yeah, did go and purposely knock down Cecil, wanting to go and preserve the slingshot, but then Rydia got knocked down and only found a Tella there, so no 5th character for harumph yet.
Well, here's the question. If you're in harumph's shoes and your goal is probably to get your 5th party member because you know grind time is fast approaching, do you head up to that earth crystal spot knowing that that's going to be 2 more checks?
I definitely agree. It's hard for her. If you're trying to go and do a slingshot and keep Cecil in good range, you need a 5th character, and Yang's good, but you might want to go and look for someone to replace that Tella when you already have a full-powered Fusoya.
Definitely. I think that's going to show in Xenocat's way around this, as we're about to see what we got. And there's a Luca key. So we know that if Xenocat decides to head down and check Dwarf Castle to try and get that 10th character, or that different Tella replacement, firstly, they're going to be disappointed, but secondly, that will be a 10th key item if they decide to go there.
Which is interesting for Xenocat, as the other key item that's really available to them is that Cape Bahamut, and Cape Bahamut is very likely to be rude. But we do have a Cecil with an Avenger.
This looks like harumph is actually going to set up to drop a save outside a sealed cave and just run down and check it, which I have to agree with as, you know, a play when you know you're 1 key item away from go mode. We know that where one of those is, but in his case, this seems like a pretty smart move.
Yeah, this is... that Earth Crystal is nothing that's going to go, and you're really appealing from a key item standpoint because it's long, it's 2 bosses, you already have a full power Fusoya, and there's a lot of cutscenes there.
Xenocat about to have one of my favorite moments that I've had in this seed watching it, which is that moment of, oh no, is this water hag?
Is it water hag, or is it the one that I really wish it wasn't?
How bad has my day become all of a sudden? Is that sort of check?
Am I happy, or is chat happy? That's usually the barometer of how much misery I'm going to be in for. The happier chat is, the less happy I'm going to be.
Exactly. We all like to see a good amount of suffering, but sort of that tough love kind of thing where we just like to see our runners succeed through difficult situations, and you got to have difficult situations to like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure runners don't want anything too easy, because the easy seeds are jet seeds and the jet seeds are scary. They are not the seeds that you enjoy. They're the ones that get your heart pumping.
Yeah, it's sort of like a difference in difficulty. There's like technical difficulty, and then there's psychological difficulty. And jet seeds are psychologically rough because you're just spending that entire time thinking, okay, I got here quick. When did my opponent get here? Am I about to see that done any second? At least with these long, winding seeds, you're kind of thinking, you know what? They've probably been pushed down the same route, probably doing that. As long as my technical skill has been good enough, I should come out ahead.
Yeah, it's always scary because whenever you're in a jet seed, you're just sitting there thinking of every single mistake you've made. And now Xenocat is sitting there thinking, okay, I'm in go mode. I have the opportunity to go and put this on. What do I go and where do I go from here? I can go and get into... I got everything I need, technically. What do I do now?
You know, I think check the Sand Ruby, and then I think go to the Moon. They've hit 9 key items, which you might as well check. They're not... Well, are they going to take Yang? Looks like they're going to take that Yang, maybe in replacement for that Tella. But we still haven't seen who that Moon character is yet. And so they have that advantage of being able to go and check who the Moon character is and possibly get a benefit out of that harumph just doesn't have yet.
Yeah, harumph is going to have 10 key items. Harumph is at 10 key items now. Counting is really hard. Yes, harumph is at 10 key items now, so any check harumph does, any grind harumph does, is going to be double experience, while Xenocat is down those key items.
Yeah, I think that's why, at least from our perspective, we'd kind of hope for Xenocat's sake that they go up to the moon and find that easy Bahamut fight, because they are ahead, but they are working from that disadvantage. And also, really, you still kind of want to check characters because, as Plumeria just pointed out in chat, we don't have a real white mage yet. We have like half of 2 different white mages, which does not add up to 1 because math does not work that way in this game. So you might be looking for a Rosa or a Porum to sort of slingshot as well.
Yeah, Cecil, I mean, we have an Avenger, so that cuts down on some of the Berserk needs for the party, but it's nice to go and have a proper white mage who isn't your anchor and going to be taking turns every 5 ATB ticks at best, and probably 1 turn every 3 of Zeromus' turn with how that fight usually goes. Gonna go and want something. We do have the option of Edge to go and steal Bacchus once if we want that, but it is slow and easy to say, I don't want to do that.
Also, as far as what could be rude at cave value, which was also just asked in chat, Wall was mentioned, Alt Gauntlet, and Val. Those would be the 3 bad ones, in my opinion.
I would find... Who would I find is rather unpleasant there?
A lot of the real... Oh, Baigen. That's the other one.
Baigen is definitely the hot ticket. My hot ticket pick, because Baigen is very punchy and 3 times as punchy as that. And that's a Kane on the moon if you want more punch on your side.
Isn't he like technically a half white mage in After Years? I don't know. I didn't get that far in that game.
You know, I think you're better off for it. Oh, we are not going and taking Yang yet. We are going and taking Kane over Yang.
It makes sense. We do have pretty good Kane equipment. We have a defense sword and a Gungnir both, I think, at this point in time. So no matter what, you can put something good on that Kane. And, you know, that seems like a solid choice because this is one of the few times where we have that Kane equipment. You might as well.
Yeah, and if you go and take Yang, well, you just do a couple of fights to slingshot him. And he's going to go and just feel pretty good. And we do have an Ashura on Xenocat's side, so that is something for Rydia to go and help out with. That is a way for Rydia to go and do big healing 2 out of 3 times.
Here's the question. If you have a Kane, an Edge, and a Cecil berserked, do you just sit back on that Rydia and that Fu, let them basically act as like co-white mages and try and keep your party up that way at this point?
That would be my inclination, especially because you can berserk glitch one of your fighters. You can really go and cut down on, if you can go and do a skip, that's great. And speaking of skip, we were skipping to see if this is leg or elements, and this is elements. This is a reasonably doable fight, in my opinion.
Might not be the best time to have that Avenger already equipped to Cecil, because that does mean that they won't be able to just do the reflect strat and keep it in this phase. They're going to have to go through all the phases of this fight because of those swings. So this could be a bit more difficult, but at very least, if they have to reset from here, then they can sort of take that Avenger off and set up for a reflect kill, which I think would be within the realm of possibility at this point.
That seems pretty neat, I agree, because yeah, we're not going to go and get a reflect kill. If we reset, definitely the way you want to go into this, but I think because of the low magic power here, elements is not going to be too bad, and Etch does have a mute knife on. He is going to do extra damage to this Rubicant phase. And we're already through it, so I think we're looking in pretty safe shape.
Absolutely, and so this will be the last objective, and also 10 key items for Xenocat, so they're going to be in go mode and perfectly ready for a grind at this point in time. You know, Harumph still has to go up to the moon, deal with that spot, and do a grind of his own. Xenocat definitely in the driver's seat in the seat at this point.
Yep. Harumph is getting into pretty much is getting in no mode now, while Xenocat will be going into the crystal almost immediately. And both are down that grind. I wonder if either of them is going to go and steal Sirens, or if Xenocat is going to do something like, say, take on Behemoths and go from there.
I think with them keeping Rydia down at 480 HP, keeping that Kane down right now, I think they're definitely looking to do a giant grind where they can get that really, really big slingshot at this point in time. So that will be pretty big, and that will be the Crystal for Xenocat, key item number 10 for them. So they're ready to do whatever they end up doing, but I definitely think in this case, it's going to be a giant grind.
I can see the value of just stealing eggs and saying, forget the slingshot. You've got Cecil. Eggs are going to be faster than sending up the manipulation and doing that grind. I don't know if Xenocat has bought any, what's the word for them? MP restoratives. So that the more things that Xenocat would have to do, while Xenocat can currently just walk into Lower Babel, find a chest, and steal a bunch of sirens.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not sure that either one is particularly better than the other at this point, really. They're probably going to come out about even.
It's going to be a very hard determination. It is one of those things where it's going to be slightly between the two, but that slightly between the two is going to matter a fair bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, our runners in this tournament are so extremely close together that you can't take anything for granted at any point in time. I did a little tiny bit of research before this match started, and out of our 32 matches in this first round, 13 of them have gone to these game threes. A lot of them have been decided by, minutes, seconds, and like that, and you can't at any point in time take those few seconds for granted. But it does look like it is going to be Siren Grind.
Harumph had to reset because Harumph had the Avenger on while Xenocat did go and pick that up, so they're just going to be in the same way of getting through this. And we're getting a stop cast on the alert from Fusoya just to go and stop those annoying messages as we start taking out parts of this team so that it gets the edges turn faster and we get to steal them faster.
Absolutely, but that is pretty interesting for two reasons. First of all, they're in this grind at the same point in time, so they'll probably get out of the grind at the same point in time. Xenocat, of course, has that objective, but also has that cane, whereas Harumph is going to probably be grinding with that Tella still in his party, so he's kind of committed to that. So that's going to be another bit of an advantage for Xenocat. It's going to come down to that Z fight. As long as the Z fight goes perfectly fine, then that should give them the advantage, but Z fights are by no means guaranteed ever.
A chance that Harumph might go and pick up that Young. We did see that Dwarf Castle sold Cat Claws, or it was Emblem Cave that sold Cat Claws and a number of other things, so there may be some level of inclination to go and get that, or go and pick up Young and have that set up. That is going to be interesting. Definitely pointing out there might be a difference between Harumph after the elements. Harumph will be able to do elements after the grind, which will definitely give a time advantage.
Yeah, the secondary advantage there is that it's also on the way. So Harumph can just go up there, take on elements on the way to the Z fight because he'll already be on the moon at that point in time. The only thing that actually sort of leads to a question in my mind is, if you're on Harumph's side, do you do a shorter Siren grind and then do some behemoths on the way because you're already going to be heading through there, and that might save you a bit of time on the sneaking here?
I think you will spend more time going. So one behemoth is going to be worth a bit less than 2 eggs. I think you spend more time fighting the behemoth than you do stealing 2 sirens and killing 2 eggs.
Yeah, I think probably right on that one. It is an option. I don't think it's a good option, but I think, that is something that could be crossing his mind at this point in time, where he's just trying to think of how to make this more efficient in any way possible.
Yeah, and I mean, if I had a Crystal Sword, I'd be much more inclined to go and get that Cecil. Just let Cecil kill it. Cecil will go and just absolutely decimate those behemoths, but Avenger, it's nice, but we see it only doing 1,000 damage to this egg. Behemoths have about 22,000 HP if I'm not mistaken. So want to have a little bit more. Edge only doing 650 damage, not quite killing off that yellow dragon egg, and it gets a counter lit on everyone.
Yeah, that is the sort of downside of this party right now, is we don't have great edge gear. I think don't know what we have for edge gear on either side at this point in time. I want to say the best thing I've seen is middle sword, and that's really not a great prize.
We did get a longsword from that siren chest. That's the best thing we got.
Oh, I was hoping it would be middle sword's time to shine finally, but mute knife and longsword is where we're at the moment.
No matter how you cut it, it's a rather middling weapon.
Yeah, it's just, it's sort of the forgotten one. But I like those ones that are just really weird names when you think about it. Like, we need flags that really let middle sword and spear shine and like that.
I'm gonna be honest, I think Spear's time to shine was when PK went and managed to do 1,000 damage with it on a level 68 cane, I believe.
Which just goes to show, as much as you want equipment over levels on Berserkers, they're fine with levels too.
You can raw power, brute force anything into being some source of damage, but you're going to be providing most of it.
So while we're here on this egg grind, now seems like a good time to give a quick shout out to both of our runners, as well as to our behind the scenes crew for the stream today, to Awaken Smoke on the tracker and to Jofs on the restream, both doing a wonderful job as always. This is a very interesting seed, so definitely a very good roll today at very least.
Yeah, we're very speedy seed, all things considered, and just harumph got 2 extra key item checks and is just 1 boss fight behind Xenocat. There's a lot on display here.
Yeah, I kind of would lean towards, if I were trying to describe how this race has been going, harumph has been faster at what he's been doing, but Xenocat has had a better route on their way through the seed at this point.
Yeah, harumph had a slight hiccup with having to double dip the key, the tower key spot, because trying to get experience on Rydia, just the game was very insistent on, there's a Rydia alive, punch the Rydia, there's a Rydia alive, punch the Rydia, there's a Rydia alive, wave goodbye to the Rydia.
Xenocat only has 2 sirens left at this point, so they'll be done with their grind very, very soon here and on their way to the moon at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got Cecil at 2400 HP, Edge at just over 2000. Probably want a bit more. Yeah, Xenocat is getting ready to move. I think Xenocat might be going to... Nope, right. Xenocat has a Silk Web already, so that's not important. Just going to go and head to the moon now.
Yeah, and with Rydia at that low of health, that means one of 2 things. Either they're very confident in their ability to nerf Big Bangs, or they've decided that Rydia is not important to the rest of their strategy for getting through the sea fight.
And it could be that the strategy is whenever they need Rydia, they throw a life potion and then Rydia tries to cast Ashura. So I'm pretty sure even at those levels, if you slap a heroin rib on Rydia, she'll get her turn very quickly, and yeah, minus 15 to your black magic cat, to both your spellcasting stats, honest, it's pretty bad, but you're still going to get an absolute truckload of healing through Ashura, so it's not going to matter too much.
Yeah, those of you who are fans of the Dragon Quest series and like the casinos that exist there are going to really enjoy this setup with Rydia on this place, because basically Ashura is a giant slot machine, and we'll be spinning the faces and hoping it lands on the 2 out of 3 chance of it actually healing each time.
Is it healing? Maybe. Is it disappointment? Probably.
Who doesn't like an RNG-based final boss strategy from time to time?
I mean, if you like Dragon Quest, that's probably what you're used to. Did I get hit twice in a row and the healer goes down, or do I get to go and cast my Cure spell at the right time?
Yeah, it's impressive to watch, because it's going to be very execution heavy no matter what they do, because they can probably get through it without even the help from the Rydia, but the Rydia will help.
Yeah, on her upside, going up to Nuke makes a lot of sense because, again, as you mentioned, harumph does not have the cane that Xenocat has. Harumph is going to go and be hurting for damage a bit. If you go and chuck in nukes from Meridia, you can probably go and push phases faster and need to go and do less berserking and be less at the mercy of Big Bang. So it makes a lot of sense, but we do see Xenocat is running down the lunar subterranean, has to walk all the way up to Zeromus' doorstep, does not have the express pass today.
It's a nice day for a good hike. It's sort of like the reverse of climbing a mountain because you're going down the entire way, but, might as well grab a picnic, take it down to see Zeromus, and just, have a good time. That's the reason why he's so angry. No one ever brings him a picnic.
You're gonna have to forgive me if I think that's not the core of the issue with Zeromus, because that lunar core is real hard to go and bring anything that needs to be preserved or refrigerated. Have you seen the sun inside of that?
True, but then you can just bring bring some hot dogs, some marshmallows, just roast them over the sun at the center of the lunar core. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's like having a big bonfire, but there's some flags in this chat right at the moment.
There are some flags, and let's look, maybe we're Z flat. It says Z. Is it nap time? It is a bit late. I should really go and get ready to go to sleep. How are you feeling, or Nth?
I'm feeling fine at this point. I was just assumed that the ZZ was in this case, the four of them, just stands for Zemus Zone 4, of course. The wonderful tournament which we are watching at the moment. But I think it might be referring to the Zeromus fight coming up here.
You're right, because of all the fights in the game, this is the one that doesn't get moved around, oddly enough. For a randomizer, it seems kind of counterintuitive because everything should be random. We shouldn't go and have something stable. But Zeromus is kind of mean and rude and really complicated, to be entirely honest. He even kind of cheats a bit. So we lock him up in the lunar core, but we don't let him out. We do let him change his look. And while we have 525 different looks for Zeromus to choose from, we do have one important question to ask.
That question is, as usual, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
You have any favorites?
I think my recent favorite is the Temp Jobamus, the job one with the text box about it that says I'm a final boss. That's my favorite at the moment.
That's a hard one to beat, and it's a little meme in reference to the job dwarf who in the vanilla game says I am a farmer, and in Free Enterprise is a random job, but here we have, Arden. Arden is... How do you feel about Arden? Have you played Final Fantasy 15?
I have, but I haven't played any of the DLC stuff, so I feel like my opinion is at best sort of half-formed on it, considering how much they build on him in the DLC, apparently. But it's still a fun game and still worth checking out, and honestly, I feel like as far as that game goes, the Arden as a villain was one of the better parts of it, so I'm perfectly fine with this.
I can't disagree. Every time I went and interacted with Arden, I was like, wow, this character is hard to read and very smarmy, and I sometimes feel very inclined to punch him in the face, but he was really good looking too. I can't deny that.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, personality-wise, very similar to, I'm not going to say too much because it will be spoilers, but it's very similar to certain villains in the most recent expansion to Final Fantasy XIV. So that's sort of where I'm at on it.
Yeah, that's I mean, both of them are characters that I'm more than happy to go and see more of. So nice to go and see this form of Artemis, and nice to see Ashura go and hit one of the two healing phases, full heals the team after that big bang. Rydia doing the job we need her to do, while Fusoya is out and just throwing berserks on the team.
Yeah, it looks like Xenocat, they're not going to try and drop a Star Veil, or yes, they're going to drop the Star Veil on the Rydia instead, going to try and reflect some nukes on to add a bit of extra damage. These Berserkers are not swinging for too high of numbers. They're doing kind of like acceptable numbers, not great numbers at this point. So this might be a little bit of a long fight here.
Yeah, not only getting 2,000 from each of those. Going and queuing up a Thor Rage on Edge, going and reflecting a nuke with Fusoya, just trying to nerf the Big Bang, and having the Star Veil on Rydia means that it's going to go and any reflected nuke won't kill her, but it's hitting Fusoya, and that is going to hurt a fair bit, and this Big Bang is probably going to knock down Fusoya.
Yeah, I'm hoping that nerf should have been in time. So yeah, only Fu will go down at this point. So that's, it's not great, but it is good enough. And also Harumph is through that elements fight in blazing fast speed, so he'll be hot on his heels. If something goes wrong in this Z fight, he's immediately right back in it.
Yep, Black Hole comes out. That's going to go and knock out Kane's Berserk. Fusoya is still down. Edge is throwing a life potion. Rydia's going to be in her turn soon, and we're going to try and rely on Ashura again, but I don't know if Xenocat has much for MP restoratives. If this goes too long, Fusoya is going to run out of MP.
I think I saw some Ether 2s in their inventory down towards the bottom of it, but I'm not 100% sure.
And that is what you don't want to see in Ashura. Greyface is a full party revive. Not what you want.
Yeah, I think they'll still have time to get this Cure 4 off from Fu, but this is a scary moment. As long as we get this nerf off, it might be survivable, but if we don't get this nerf off in time, that's going to be goodbye to both casters right now.
Yeah, we're getting a nerf, and even if it goes and nukes Rydia, it might go and be enough to still take down Fusoya. Kane getting hit, that is not the worst thing to happen, but Kane is going to go down in this big bang.
Yeah, we also saw the 4 Ether 2s there, so they should have enough restoratives to get through this fight at this point in time, and that should be pretty good for them. Only Kane going down from this, Fu living with 144 left, so still in this fight at this point in time. It's about time to spin the reels of Asura once again.
Yep. Ooh, full party virus coming out. That's going to knock people down. That knocks down Fu and Kane. Not very often you see that, because that is a phase 1 script, and usually we were pushing damage hard enough to go and burn through that phase 1 until we get to this point, until we get to phase 2 where that virus doesn't come out. But Fu and Kane both go down, needing to get Fu back up first.
Absolutely does get that heal off of Asura, so that is a very, very good opportunity there at this point in time. And we'll see this Asura go off again at this point. I'm a bit concerned about whether or not they'll get another nerf off on this big bang, which should be the next shake coming pretty soon here.
Yeah, Edge looks to go and be not taking on Zerk duty, and is just going to go and be alive. We get another full heal from Ashura, so going to be able to get Kane Berserked again. We have going to go and skew up a dart on Edge instead, just going to throw out, literally throw out more damage. Those are, yes, Edge is in the back row. I don't believe Edge has been back row glitched, so Edge is not going to be able to go and do full damage with any spells, and we are not getting a nerf on this big bang, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. This is a little bit of a scary moment here. Will Fu live, or are we going to get the high roll? And it looks like only Rydia will go down. That is I guess, the best outcome possible there, but it's still scary going into the next one.
Yeah, we're going to go and get a Cure 4 out from Fusoya, and I don't know if we burned a Ether 2, because Rydia had one queued up when she went down, and sometimes that can go, and yeah, we're at 2 Ether 2s, only one got thrown.
And even scarier, if Rydia was queuing up an Ether 2 to throw on herself there, that means she probably doesn't have enough MP to cast Asura again. Meaning we're going to have to try and hope on Xenocat's side that their Fusoya comes back up in the turn order quickly enough to throw out another Cure 4, and it looks like Edge is going to go down to this nuke here, but at least we're in phase 2.
Yeah, we're no longer in phase 1. We are in phase 2. Instead of party-wide viruses, we're going to go and get nukes every now and again. Gonna probably take out one party member if we're not at full HP. We see everyone's getting taken up to full HP, and I wonder if we're just going to be waiting for another nerf opportunity.
I think so in this case. Going to throw another Ether 2 onto Fu. That will bring him back up, but we only have one Ether 2 left on Xenocat's side. This is still very tense, and Harumph is coming very quickly down towards this Z fight himself. Has a bit of a stronger fight too, so this is actually a pretty tense moment, because this fight might actually get even closer just on the basis of how long it's taking Xenocat to get this damage out.
Yeah, Xenocat is running the serious risk of running out of gas. There goes Kane and Cecil going down. Cure 4 on both of them is probably going to heal them to full, but you only have 2 party members right now, and there's likely a nuke coming out.
Yeah, this is a very worrying moment. I'm not sure how you play your way out of this situation right now. I think you just got to kind of give up on Rydia and hope your Fu can handle the rest of the healing from here and maybe not Berserk Kane back up after this.
Yeah, I think we're going to be waiting for that Big Bang. Yeah, Big Bang comes out. It's going to go and rely on Cure 4. And gotta hope that Fu does not take over 2,000 damage.
Lives through another one. Kane going back down at this point in time. Still down to only 2 party members. Cecil still swinging away with that Avenger. It's going to be difficult to recover with only 1 party member who you can actually give actions to, but it's still possible at this point in time. They're going to run out of MP fairly soon, though, from these Cure 4s that they're expending on Fu at the moment.
Yep, nuke goes out on Cecil. Does he survive this? He very likely will. Only 1,000 damage, so pretty good. You need to go get some healing out. Going and throwing Ashura, Rydia's last Ashura, as she is only at 82 MP at the moment, while Harumph is getting into Zeromus fight and is going and queuing up a reflected nuke. So it's going to have that higher damage, is going to go and push through Zeromus' HP faster than Xenocat is currently able to.
Absolutely, and thankfully getting that healing out on Rydia, but this is still a very, very tight fight. Only getting 2,000 damage down on this Zeromus per swing is going to be not great. Gonna get another Cure 4 going out here, and we'll see what ends up happening, and that is a high roll on Fu. Cecil is alone. I think this might be over unless we tip over into rocks and Cecil dodges like a champion.
That's going to be scary. We see a shake. Cecil is going to need to go and dodge a lot of rocks, even if we go, yep, that's a Big Bang. That is going to take out Xenocat, and that is a reset on Xenocat's side.
That is deeply unfortunate, but there's nothing for them to do at this point in time but just get right back in it, give it another shot. And at this point in time, Harumph is back in the driver's seat. We gotta hope, if you're Xenocat in this case, that your opponent is taking a wipe on Z as well. And I'm not sure how likely that is over on Harumph's side, just because that Fu is in that little bit safer of a spot with that bit of extra HP from the levels. Rydia is the only real big risk of going down to Big Bangs, even if there's no nerf, so this is looking a bit more stable, but anything can happen because Xenocat's fight was looking perfectly stable until a couple moments ago here.
Yeah, once most of the party went down, Xenocat was in a rough spot and had to go and scramble to recover. And that long recovery just put Xenocat through more and more Big Bangs and just ran out of resources effectively. And really needed to go and get something going and just couldn't because there was only one unobserved character left.
Absolutely. And as chat sort of is hitting on right now, I do want to give a shout out to Xenocat for their incredibly aggressive play towards this Z fight. It's obvious that Harumph has done more preparation going into it from that extra levels and like that. And it did look like at any moment they could have taken that Z fight win there. And, you know, there's still a chance. There's still a chance that Harumph wipes. He's down to only 2 characters left at this point in time. Only has Cecil and Fu, the true power couple, left, so gotta hope there. And Cecil's not swinging for much more over on Harumph's side than he was over on Xenocat's side, so we'll see. And this is still a very close race, but I really do admire the sort of level of aggressive gameplay that got Xenocat to this particular spot that they're in right now.
Yeah, Xenocat, as you said earlier, we have effectively half a white mage. We're not really sitting in great position because Fu's MP pool is so very low for this fight. You cannot afford to go and burn extra MP. Harumph is going to be spending extra turns just going and healing Fusoya's MP because 190 is not enough to last through this whole fight, especially with the amount of damage coming out.
Definitely, and they're kind of having a scary moment over on Xenocat's side because that Silk Web, I believe, did not land, which is going to make this Zeromus fight even faster on their side. Oh. And that might be, honestly, I would be tempted to just reset at that point in time.
Yeah, that Silk Web is really important. You need to go and get Zeromus down to that lower speed. Part of why we go and talk about that agility number, where Xenocat's Fusoya is at the very magical 28 agility, which takes Zeromus from what we call RA1 to RA2, where it takes RA refers to how many ATB ticks it requires for that character to get a turn. Doubling the number of times it takes for Zeromus to get or ATB takes for Zeromus to get a turn is pretty massive, because you are probably not playing anywhere near that number. And slow will double that even further. So if you go and have an RA1 character and slow them with a Silk Web, they go down to RA2. If you take a character who's RA2 and slow them with Silk Web, they are down to RA4.
Another big bang coming out on both sides. Again, we still could have a high roll take out Fu over on Harumph's side. We could have any high roll take out on the other side too. Everyone lives except for the Rydia over on Xenocat's side, so we're gonna continue back up into this next cycle of this fight. I don't know. There's still a chance. Does Harumph have the resources? Does he have enough damage to get this fight down with only that Cecil still swinging at this point?
Yeah, that is a big thing, because there's a nuke coming out. It's hitting Cecil, so it's not going to go and kill, but that's 40 MP that Fusoya has to burn. Fusoya only get 4 Cure 4s per full MP bar, and you need to go and spend turns to throw another Cure 2, another Ether 2, excuse me, on Fusoya, recovers that MP.
Yeah, and this is real high level gameplay right now, because honestly, like, both of them are doing the most technical gameplay fight. There's Rocks over on Harumph's side, needs to dodge, probably fine at this point in time, but this is looking a little bit safer over on his side right now.
Yeah, that is... Cecil's looking pretty good, probably going to be able to go and get 1,000 damage per set of rocks, maybe only 3,000. There's another Meteo. Needs to go and do 12,000 damage to finish off Zeromus, as that is when Zeromus tips into this Meteo phase.
I think he's got it at this point. That Cecil's still sitting at full health, does not even have the sap effect ticking on his HP at this point. And there's another swing, and are we there yet? There's the crumble, and GG's. That looks like a victory for Harumph.
GG's for Harumph, an absolute comeback from 2 extra checks going and being behind on go mode, but the wipe to Zeromus that Xenocat had, which it wasn't because for lack of trying or lack of good skill on Xenocat's side. It's just a very marginal fight to go through. So GG's to both runners. We will see if we can get Harumph in here for an interview.
Yeah, definitely. And that was one of those really interesting sort of things where the harder you make this Z fight on yourself through levels or through whatever else you're doing, you just kind of, at some point in time, it becomes RNG, and it's just deeply unfortunate there.
Yeah, it is very hard to go and deal with that. And we are joined by Harumph right now, and GG's Harumph on that finish. What did you feel about that seed?
I was in panic mode for that one. When I saw Baron Key at Overworld here, I was pretty much in panic mode here, because I went and did some other extracurricular checks beforehand, and when I saw how linear those objectives turned out to be, it was like,
yeah, that was
I'm in trouble.
that was a very scary seed. And to also bring something in chat, Xenocat has forfeited because that was a crushing Zeromus fight, and I don't blame them as well. We are also joined by Xenocat, GG's as well, on a very hard-fought series.
Yeah, oh my goodness, this was hard-fought. Zeromus was not kind to me today. I should have just popped the last couple sirens, but oh well. It was fine.
It was a scary seed, as Harumph mentioned. There was a Baron Key.
Super
Harumph,
jetty.
how did you feel when you found that Earth Crystal from Ordeals as well?
That was all. Well, considering I left the Ordeals till fairly late here, thinking about a potential slingshot for Cecil at that point is like, if I didn't feel bad after Baron here, I certainly felt bad after. Well, I felt bad after making the Earth Crystal check here. At that point, it's like, yeah, I figured here that path would have been taken first here, so I'm going to do other checks first off.
Yeah, it turns out having a defense sword Cecil and Edge in the party is really good.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It was an interesting switch because Harumph did seem to go and pull an early lead going into Baronin sooner, finding the Magnum Key, and then doing a cheeky tower dive to find half of Forge.
Ooh.
While Xenocat, you went and kept along the Overworld. I am curious as to what drove both of you to those decisions. So, Harumph, what drove you to Baron Inn before going to pretty much anywhere else aside from Antlion?
Mainly Foo. It was like, all right, it's two bosses that can be fairly quick here. I've got probably enough magic power to get through that here between Foo and Rydia here. So I might as well, get those two checks now here, and then I can hopefully get through the other checks faster here. Sadly, Quake and Nuke were were among the 3 last spells learned.
Yeah, that was not nice.
Yeah, that so yeah, got tier 2 spells, tier 2 elemental spells quickly, but was rather.
Yeah, it was very slow, even just to get like Ice 3. That's probably one of the latest Ice 3s I've seen in a while on a Foo.
Yeah, I pretty much paid attention to Cure 3, Cure 4, Quake, and the Virus and Nuke here, and I'll check the rest along the road. So I have no idea here when Ice 3 came about, to be honest.
It was, I think, somewhere around 1200 hit points. It was not early. And that was the first level 3 elemental spell. It took several bosses to get. I think I got it from, I think, Zot 2. But that's after clearing Mist Cave, Ordeals, Antlion, Hobbs, and of course the Tower of Zot.
Yeah, speaking of that, Ordeals into Tower of Zot, would you mind talking a bit about what drove you that path rather than Baron Inn or some other way on the Overworld?
I have Fu, Tella, and Cecil. I'm not fading Ordeals. I need to get this party up Ordeals as soon as possible, since I have Iridia with Leviathan who can get me through the fights. This just makes the most sense. I'm going to get my Cecil online so he can take advantage of any weapon I found. And then I found the Earth Crystal, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to go hit up the Treasury, and then I guess climb the Tower of Zot while I'm in the area, because that'll drop me off right outside Baron Inn.
Certainly makes a lot of sense. It definitely gave you a bit of a momentum. When you saw that edge at Zot, did that go and change any predispositions you had, any potential plans?
I was glad it wasn't going to be another D-Machine seed. I was like, okay, I'm going to be able to steal Sirens now. This is good. Yeah, I can safely ditch my Tella. Because Tella was not going to do that much.
Same here, it was like, Lauren, I guess I don't have to do a Siren grind anymore here. I kept the Tella here because I didn't feel like going back for the Young. It was, I guess, my check at that point here. But
yeah.
And Ruby.
Yeah, I ended up, I think, committing to Kain in that slot, and Rydia, because I had an Avenger and a Defense Sword, and I was like, well, I guess I can have weapons for both Kain and Cecil. This is good.
There was a second Avenger in the Sealed Cave if you really wanted.
No, thank you.
You're not saying that the second Avenger for double Avenger on Zeromus fight didn't seal the deal? How shocking.
I didn't even have a Luca key. Why would I go to Sealed Cave?
Oh, that's true. You never did do the Vanilla Dwarf Castle. Harumph, that Dwarf Castle, what drove you there over going to the Zot that you picked up from Ordeals?
I figured here my opponent had already gone to Zot, so I wanted to do checks here that didn't overlap as much as I could there.
Unfortunately, Zot had the Darkness Crystal, which was kind of required.
Yes, very much so.
And how did you feel finding your third Tella at Dwarf as well?
It was like, yeah, there's enough old men in this seed here. I need to find somebody else here. Although it was a Cecil and the hero old man here who carried that Z fight for me.
Yeah, they were definitely the top two, for sure.
The other chunks. sorry, the other chuckle I had in that seed here was Demus, that Leviathan.
Oh yeah, that was nice to see.
I was like,
I walked in, saw it, was like, great, I guess I don't have to check other places for Demist, but I'm not checking that right now.
Yeah, is there ever a world where you have been tempted to actually go back for that in any way?
I was very tempted to go back here, considering that the last 2 seeds I rolled for other runners here both had acquired Demist at the Leviathan spot. So
I think I probably would have faded it unless I took some really bad wipes to things, which I didn't take any bad wipes until the Z fight. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how that went for me.
I was half expecting that Darkness Crystal to be behind Demist here. Fortunately, it wasn't, but...
Oh my goodness, yeah. Thank goodness for that.
Speaking of boss checks that went and provided useful information, the Golbez you found at the hook route, the hook you started with.
Yep.
Yeah, that was super nice. I went down there, I was like, I'm just gonna check the character, see if I can get a good character, and then I saw Golbez and I was like, oh, great, I don't have to do this hook route? Fantastic. Let's grab this character and get out. Only way this bites me is if Demist or Wyvern is here, and neither of those were the case.
No, found both of those relatively early here, so I was like, yeah, no. I never have to go, never have to see the hook route ever again. And
was there any temptation to verify?
I was tempted a little bit, but I figured I didn't have time to run down and make the 2-minute walk just to peek the King-Queen spot.
There's cheeky, but I have my limits even.
Yeah, no. The seed just handed me a Rydia with Leviathan. I'm not gonna bother peeking that.
Very fair. Hard to go and disagree with that. Well, this is the end of your series. A very tight match between both of you, going back and forth multiple times in the seed and in the set itself. How are you both feeling about this tournament so far? Xenocat, seeing as you are out, we'll start with your response or your feelings on Zemus Zone 4 overall.
I think Zemus Zone 4 overall has been really fun. I'm not the biggest fan of the flag set entirely, but I mean, the Sea Hero aspect I really do like. There's some things I dislike about it, but that can wait for later. It's not a bad flag set by any means, and honestly, I'm kind of a little relieved to be out. I made the mistake of doing this tournament at the same time as taking 24 credits of classes. That's not fun. So I'm very happy that I don't have to keep racing.
College is important. 24 credits. Yes. That's a lot.
It is a lot. I can confirm. I'm kind of dying, but it's fine.
Yeah, your brain's probably turning to mush half the time.
Yeah, no. It doesn't help that one of my classes is a twice a week 3.5 hour lecture.
Oh my.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm only getting 3 credits for it, even though I'm spending 7 hours in class a week. It's fine. But yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to focus more on school, focus more on harp stuff. That's gonna be fun. Help out with Restream when I can. And yeah. Best of luck, Harumph, on your next matchup.
Thanks, Xenocat here. I kind of feel fortunate here to get past that, to move it to the round of 32. Was super close for a lot of the matches here.
Yeah. It was a good race, good matchup. I think.
Here. Yep. And if we were to run this back here, you probably
If I had gotten a lower roll on that foo by like 60 hit points in that first in that one big bang, this might have gone the other way.
That Z fight was you were in the Z fight first. That is a very important fight, and you had a very scary Z fight. You had lower levels, and
it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. I figured, if it was at 28 agility, this will be fine. It was not fine.
Yeah, part of why I haven't talked too much during this interview is I kind of strained my voice a bit talking about it. So.
But this is onto Harumph. How do you feel about your run so far and what you're getting into next? Next week. I had the break this week. You had the break last week.
Yeah. The original plan goal going into here was just actually finish top 32 in the qualifiers, which I didn't do here, but I made top 32 in the bracket, so I'll take that as a win. I know that I've got a tough opponent here in Chimerian Knight in the next round. I've already been lucky a few times here, so hopefully that continues here, and I'm gonna need to be a little sharp. I need to be, super on my game here to have a chance to move on. But I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Wish you the best of luck with that challenge, as Xenocat has always been one challenge you have managed to get past, and Preliminary Night, as you said, is going to be another great one that we'll all be looking forward to see. Well, and do you have any final questions for our runners?
No, just a real thank you for an extremely good show. Like, that Z fight alone was one of the most exciting ones I've seen all tournament. So, and just watching the whole race in general, it was really neat to see like the different paths and like that. And thank you for giving us an extremely good match today.
I'm glad my failed Z fights could be that entertaining.
No drama if there's no sense of risk.
Yeah, no. I'm not going to do my Z fight safe if I'm grinding with sirens. Why would I do that? Let's take a risky Z fight that might work out, but might not. It's exciting. Exactly. Who cares if it costs me the race?
See, Xenocat, you have the correct priorities.
No, I'm here
for criticize Harumph because he also had a rather exciting Z fight.
I'm here for entertainment and memes.
I'm just here to provide
Winning comes second.
That evil wall coming towards you. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom.
That creeping sense of dread as you slowly and intrinsically see the end coming. But speaking of the end, this will be the end of our restream. Thank you both to Xenocat and Harumph for joining us and putting on such a great race. As we're done with this race, but we're not done with Free Enterprise for tonight. We'll be sending you all over to the Free Enterprise channel to go and watch the Flurry versus Elven Sorrow race in progress already. When you are there, please do not spoil the results of this race, as we want people to be able to get these results as they want. Feel free to tell them it was a good one. Anth, has been a great time going and doing commentary with you this evening.
Yep, and it's been wonderful working with you, as well as with our tracker Awaken Smoke and our restreamer Jofs as well. Thank you to everyone who came by and watched as well, and I hope you all enjoy the final race of the round of 64 that we're sending you over to now.
Have a great evening.